Welcome, everyone, to the World Energy Healing Session with Terry Ann Nikitas. That's me. It's January 28th, 2025. You can find me on Rumble, YouTube, X. What else? I'm on Wix, urbanretreat.com. If you would please like, share, and subscribe, that really helps me out. And let's try and get my viewers up to, I don't have very many, but if we could get YouTube up a bit or memberships up to a couple of hundred, it would be kind of fun to have that going on. And then maybe one day we get up to 1,000, which would be super fun. All right, so what we're going to do today is look at codependency and its relationship to, this is obviously body mind. So we're looking at small intestine and heart. The small intestine discerns between the pure and the impure. So we want to get certain things out, but we have to move some of the filters of consciousness because everything is consciousness. And that's going to be the filters over the heart, but they also would filter the small intestine as well. Now, when we look at codependency, we're going to look at a few characteristics right now. It's when we are in relationships. You can have this kind of on, we could say it's on a spectrum, right? You could have a little bit of codependency, or you could be extremely codependent. If I describe the most extreme, you can just start feeling into, what kind of codependency you might have. People say that in some way we are all codependent. So it doesn't have to be this extreme. So it would be, I've got to please someone, which would mean I'll do things so they feel good, so they have a smile on their face. Just as long as I can make you feel a certain way, I can make you feel happy, I could feed you and take care of you. There's also the extremes where codependency came from alcoholism and drug abuse, right? That's where, the term I think originated, where somebody's an alcoholic and you're dependent on them, you keep trying to save them. Now, if we expand on that, there are a lot of us that are practitioners, and we could try to save our clients, or we could try to save people in our lives. All right. So that savior effect, that's really linking to the martyr. So we try to save someone, then they aren't saved, and we become resentful. We become mad, angry. And then once that occurs, we even feel guilty for that, and we become victim. So it's this triangle of, I'm going to save you, you aren't really saved, I'm resentful now, and I'm going to abuse you. The other way is, I'm going to take responsibility. There are very many ways you could look at this. I'm going to take responsibility for you. So if a practitioner, psychiatrist, therapist tries to take responsibility for their client, you're going to probably end up in resentment. And when you end up in resentment, you end up in victim. It's like, oh, poor me, nobody takes my advice, nobody does anything. So this session is to help move those filters so you aren't going through that. It could be very subtle for you. It could be, I did something. We hear it very often. I did this for someone, and now I resent that I did it because a good one is, you lend someone money. This is a really good one. Lend someone money so that they could pay their bills, let's say. Then they use it to go on vacation, right? I find it hard pressed to find somebody who goes, oh, well, it's okay. I was even watching an episode of Frasier, and he lends Roz money, who's his producer in the radio show, and she she goes and spends it on perfume and a spa day, and boy, Frasier tries to control her, tries to, you're not supposed to do that. She said, I thought you gave me the money for whatever I wanted. And in the end, she lies and says, well, this was a gift, that was an old coupon I had. No, I didn't use any of the money. And you're like, oh, she didn't do it. Oh, Frasier, wow, that was terrible. He did that. But then as Frasier leaves, she goes to someone else and says, lend me $1,500 because I just spent it all. So you can imagine, you could just feel into, you lend someone money and they go and use it for something frivolous when they needed it to pay their bills, which happens often. That's in the old days when I was way more codependent. Um, I don't even know what degree I'm at now, but it certainly isn't what it was before. Um, I would I would do something for my client because they would tell me they don't have money, and they would tell me they just can't afford to do a session, and I would do the session for them, and then they'd be off on vacation. I'd be like, oh my God. Or they drive up in a car and they needed to park, and they'd get a parking ticket, and I'd be like, oh my God, that parking ticket, you know that's way too much. I didn't even have a car. So those things used to just drive me crazy. Now I just don't do it as something to help someone. I hope those examples can touch something within you. It's up to you to think it through, to feel it, or the session will just bring it up. So hand over your heart. We're going to look for, your brain is going to search out, start dumping the filters that make you do things to control other people's moods, behaviors, whatever. It'd be so nice to be autonomous and free of that connection, right? This is really, uh, what's it called? Uh, when you're not involved, right? If you do something for someone and you don't have involvement, let's say you did lend money, you just give it to them and you're not involved no matter what they did with it. Wouldn't it be wonderful? I don't know how many people can do that. I've never met anybody who could do that, but oh well. But we'll see. But at least doing something without the sense of, I have an expectation attached to it, let's say. Because that's the other thing, is if we buy the sob story of the other person, right? Because that would make us truly angry, is buying into the sob story of another person, because that ultimately is betrayal. Okay, this I didn't think of before, that the heart would absolutely, I don't know if you can feel that, but I feel like my heart is turning and I really want to cry. These are for the moments of betrayal that would have gone on. So it's not, oh my God, okay. All right, so we're doing this codependency, but at the same time, those betrayals are really, really hurtful. They're really, really, really hurtful. Okay, we're just going to wait. I'm just waiting for them to kind of, it's almost like my heart is rolling. It's obviously not literal, but it's exposing areas where it has been kind of attacked or damaged or um, punched. And that I had a hand in it, right? Because we're not the victim of someone else. We can believe it, we can think it, we can say it's them, but ultimately it's, no, I did it. I'm the one who bought into it, even if it's out of my own ignorance, even if it's out of my own stupidity, that's fine. But we have to have that forgiveness coming up. So let's put that in now. I give myself permission to forgive myself. If you would all do that right now, I give myself permission to forgive myself. Yeah, I almost wanted to do a Joe Biden pardon, where we could pardon ourselves for everything that ever has happened, everything that is happening, and ever will. So why don't we do it? So I forgive myself for everything that has ever happened. Really feel your heart. You might feel something coming off your heart. You might feel something stuck there. Just feel into it. I forgive myself for everything that is happening. I forgive myself for everything that ever will happen. Now, whether that gives a blanket forgiveness or it's just like chipping into the rock, either way, it's amazing. because the forgiveness is where we need to ultimately go to release everything and live our lives clearly, with clear statements, with it's not a it's not a license to go do whatever I want, because your guilt is still going to be there. It's not going to go away. But at least I can bring up that forgiveness so I could deal with what's going on. If I can't forgive myself, then I'm not going to be able to deal with what's going on. We still have to take responsibility, and we still need to face things, figure things out. We still need to assess and do all the things the liver does and then catalyze us into action. It does not remove all of those things. Okay, so let's go into gallbladder for decision making. You could touch your gallbladder or wherever. Like I have ankle issues all the time, so I'm touching my ankles. Okay, now I'm going to go into another topic completely that I didn't bring up. Um, there's quite a few people I know, including myself, and we experience dizziness, disorientation. And I completely forgot before the session. I got up and I kind of swayed over to one side, and I thought, oh, I better do that during the session. So what popped up back then, that's about an hour or so ago, was, oh, there needs to be a better coordination within the basal ganglia and the musculature linking to the fascia, linking to all the ligaments, tendons. The belly of the muscle is going to be a little bit different, but we will connect it there. I'm not going to give you the rest of the formula, but all of that is going to be working just to support the balancing and alignment of the body mind, especially with um, misalignments of bones, of musculature, of consciousness. So a lot of the things that we do is mistake feminine and masculine. We really, a lot of people tell me, why do you have to categorize this? Well, I think it's really important to know what is feminine within us and what is masculine. I'm not just talking about femininity. I'm talking about things that are really important when it goes into we're in the collective consciousness, and people say that the feminine is insightful. That just goes against the collective understanding throughout history, that this is insight, which is your third eye. That is the sixth chakra, and this is insight. These chakras are masculine. The heart chakra is between the two, and the lower chakras are feminine. So even just reading the character traits of those chakras, you'll notice, what is feminine within you and what is masculine. So at any given time, we can have different levels of feminine and masculine. But I always find that when I do work with people and they don't, they really have things flipped around, or they just use terminology, especially when I'm working with symbolism, like in tarot. And these things are really important to understand what the feminine and masculine is. Now, you can have crossovers, but I'd say most of the time, even so, chakras are Indian, they're Eastern. I think Chinese can be a little bit different. But also if I think of Greek myth, we know that Hera, when she's up on the mountain and her husband comes down to earth, Zeus, and he's having sex with all the little nymphs, Hera comes down, boom, 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 really loud, really strong. She is the classic female, the classic, you've got to stop doing this. You shouldn't be cheating on me. You should not be sleeping with someone else. And I'm going to punish you. She is that hard hitting, female, right? So classically, when we see in stories, I know people don't like to experience it that way, but women are more, they're going to be very practical, and we often don't like it because it goes into nagging, right? But it is what catalyzes the masculine. It doesn't have to be nagging. but it can be. You have to, make that statement, and that's how intuition speaks. Boom. So that you can discover for yourself. But intuition, a lot of people tell me it's this little tiny voice, a little tiny quiet voice. No, it's not. Intuition is very often when people aren't really experienced at listening to their intuition, when they intuit something and then they bypass it and do something else, when they find out they did the thing that went against their intuition, they go, I knew it. They're very strong. That tells you that the intuition was strong. Yes, you can override it. Yes, you don't have to listen to it. But when she comes, she stops you in your tracks. Usually with my intuition, that's the time I get into arguments with my partner. And then after he goes, oh, that argument we had, that's because you were intuiting something. So sometimes he's not, obviously, we can't always be listening to someone else. It's not possible. But sometimes he goes, oh, you're being weird now. Yeah, you're being really forceful. Okay, something intuitive's going on. I'm not going to go that way. So I'm even learning, how my intuition comes up like, just don't do this. Don't do it now. Why? I don't know. That's how I do it. I don't know why. So let's just help this is for the structure of our bodies and dizziness. The more we can ground in the feminine, especially for women, we're not going to get so dizzy, right? We're not going to be all flighty up in our heads. We want these things to be balanced left, right, but also upper, lower. So I'm going to do all of that. And hopefully my explanation is going to help you out. Already I feel a grounding, and it's actually going on in my right um, parietal lobe. Very interesting. So the parietal is our sensory, so if you think about the feminine sensing so much, this is in men and women, right? I'm saying feminine, I'm not saying man, woman. I'm not saying girl, boy. I'm saying feminine, masculine. We all have a feminine and a masculine. We all have intuition. Yeah, okay. So women's bodies can deal more with emotions and multitasking and that kind of thing than male bodies. Okay. But apart from that, wow, this is really strong here. So I'm going to link up emotions in there and what we're picking up sensorially and link that to the entire lower body and masculine and feminine. So this is especially for you folks who get dizzy. If your postural control, I find my postural control isn't quite there yet. My partner, he's got good like agility, but he's always banging his head. So he doesn't have this sense of, where his head is in space. It could be because his head's too big, but where's his head in space? So we'll do that as well, especially since he's on the roof right now. So so maybe it manifests a little bit differently. All right, let's do that. And anyone, I just see your faces. You can't talk right now, but anyone feeling something going on in the head? Yeah, okay. I'm feeling a very strong, like something pulling me down and grounding me. I love this. So thank you all because yeah, I have a lot of trouble with this. So 3, 2, 1, inhale, exhale, and I'm going to tap that in for you. And we're going to ground to the proprioceptors of the feet. But remember, it's doing this complete coordination in the basal ganglia. Basal ganglia is all about movement in the brain. There is a coordination in the cerebellum, but I'm not seeing that right now. I'm really looking at movement in the basal ganglia and how it's relating to all of our fascia, musculature. I did separately ligaments and tendons. Okay. All right, my darlings. Well, enjoy that. If you have any of those issues, this is a great session for you. And I'm sure we all have something in those areas. Have a great week, and I will see you all on the flip side next week. Bye.